Yes, we're back. We're back for a story teaser for Wellness G.P.S. Getting Prepared for Success is the acronym for this book. You know, I love acronyms. This is the trilogy. This is the All Things Wellness book trilogy. The third one we're talking about today, we've got Cindy Wilkins in the house. We're going to chat with her in a second. Go back and look at these story teasers. What's the point? The point is that we're trying to tease you a little bit into these beautiful messages that all these contributing authors are sharing with us to share with you. So we're teasing you. I like a good tease, you know? So hello, and Marcus is my co-author. Hi, Cindy. How are you guys today?
Morning.
Great, thank you.
I'm doing great, doing great. So what we usually do, you guys, we just kind of get prepared a little bit before I hit the record button. But interestingly, always the B-roll, right? The behind the scenes, when you talk to your host behind the scenes in the green room, that's where the fun shit is. So we were chatting about, I was kind of sharing what I'm noticing in the world on commitment to themselves in a way, or holding themselves accountable, or when you say you want to do something and be a part of a project, like what's stopping you from getting it done and hitting those deadlines? So we're chatting about that. Like, is the world heavy? You know, what's the message? Are hurt people hurting people? And then Cindy goes, oh, I love serendipity, because Cindy, you know, is going to read you a chunk of her story. And ironically, what we started chatting about, similar to what the little piece is she wants to read. So, hey, Cindy, first of all, thank you. You've been on all this journey with all three books.
Thank you. Thank you. I've really enjoyed it.
It's an honor. And Cindy and I met 2 years ago off of a simple LinkedIn post where I happened to mention James Redfield. James Redfield, just a little name out there. And so James is the author of Celestine Prophecy. It's been around for a hot minute. It's sold 23 million copies. He wrote the foreword in our first book. And then Cindy saw that LinkedIn post and she was like, hey, I didn't know that guy. I've like carried his book for a while. And that's how we got to know each other. So that's what's part of this has been cool, Cindy, is other people are collaborating or a sense of community and spider webbing. And you've been with us the whole time.
And you can't get rid of me. I'm going to stick around.
And you blog.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, and she blogs for all things wellness too. So she's an eloquent writer, always has a message. So Cindy, first of all, before you read us to this story, how did you evolve from like wanting to be a writer, then getting some publicity and being a writer? Did it spark you? Did you retreat? Like, how has that been as a writer?
Well, you know, initially I started writing because I wanted to get, you know, my stories down, you know, like my pieces of my life down, with the intention of kind of leaving a footprint about who I am, how I think, you know, why I've done what I've done, the experiences I've been through, how I've navigated them. And the intention was to leave them for my daughter as kind of a legacy piece.
Yeah.
You know?
I know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I got started in writing, and everything just seemed to like snowball from there. And I got involved in different writers groups on LinkedIn and really formed a beautiful tribe there of writers, you know, writers groups I had been involved in for many years. And, you know, that's where I stumbled on Dennis and subsequently you, and, you know, everything just happens. And, you know, I know it sounds cliche, but everything happens for a reason. And when you popped in there, you know, on Biz Catalyst, I read your whole idea and what you were going with here with this trilogy. I thought, what a fabulous way of getting these stories that I've been writing, kind of pulling them all together and making them physical. You know, bringing them into the physical world, which is what I talk about a lot in my stories, is pulling what we're, you know, our dreams, our thoughts, our emotions and everything, and making them real in the physical world. And this has been a dream come true for me.
Oh, yeah, the spaces between, you know, your first story I remember was an experience of visitation with your dad, you know. The second book was kind of the monster, the migraine monster. And, you know, and so when I do think of you as a writer, I do think of you as displaying or portraying or explaining to us the spaces between the thought, and then we have the behavior, or that kind of, like you said, navigating, like, what does that even mean? And is it okay to not even figure out what it means? Like, you know, we're just in that, and to recognize it. So give us a title of this story, and then pick out this beautiful chunk that you're going to read for us. And
Well, interestingly, the title of the story is Space Between.
Mhm.
So it's
That's
like the
you.
culmination of all of these stories that I've written. This is like the grand finale.
Mm,
Mhm.
Yeah, so and that has been for me, going from building bridges and mending fences to deep dives into trauma to awakening to the lessons. That's what the Space Between is all about.
I love it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Love it.
So
Okay.
would you like me to read the piece?
I'm
Mhm.
excited for everyone to be excited. Yes.
Okay.
Honored.
Well, I love that I chose this piece because I struggled with which piece I was going to read, and it just, it worked out beautifully.
Jumped out. Good, good.
All right. It is not easy to befriend a bully, and only other bullies remain in bully groups. Birds of a feather, best to swim in warmer waters. However, in my young daughter's case, she so wanted to belong in a friend group that she did not see the turbulent waters of the cesspool she was attempting to swim in. She experienced a different side of the bully factor, exclusion from the girl groups that began forming early on. Lordy, I saw this emerging in kindergarten. By middle school, those waters were shark infested. So instead, I encouraged her to form her own alliances with the other castaways from the so-called cool girls. As it turned out, many of them were formally associated with these cliques or bully groups and sent packing for one reason or another. There was only one condition for membership in my daughter's group. No one was the leader, and everyone was welcome so long as kindness and inclusion were demonstrated. Opening the doorway to one's sense of belonging is transformational and will lead to a path of better understanding oneself and others. It is more than just discovering the good in people or seeking new relationships. These are the doorways to the space between, an opening into our own consciousness that leads to the discovery of all possibilities within a deeper realm of experience.
Nice.
Mic drop, right? Mic boom.
Mhm.
First of all, if anybody ever needs somebody to read audiobooks, please give me a call. I'll connect you with Cindy Wilkins.
Mhm.
You have that great, just that, kind of that voice that resonates. Cindy, I think we're all bullies right now, man. I think we've all either been exposed to one or in a way we have been one, when we get stuck in our ego, right? We're like, hey, hop on my wagon. I got it figured out. And then if you look at the world, and when you said this, the one rule to be in my daughter's group is that no one can be a leader. Because we all kind of changed leadership in a way, right? Good day, bad day. But yeah, Marcus, what are your thoughts about that? Isn't that even metaphorically, even if that hadn't happened to your daughter, metaphorically, this is going on.
Yes, yes. I experienced that myself when I came over here and went to college from Germany. I had high school English under my belt, so it was horrible in terms of communication. And very quickly, it was understandable also that people didn't want to put the time and effort in to try and drag me along. So I was on my own, very similar to your daughter's situation. And I formed the GDI group then. There was this alpha to omega, everything. Well, I called it GDI, and that's the goddamn independence.
Beautiful. Another party to vote for.
Exactly. And that was a similar makeup. There is no leader. There is rules are only that you don't hurt other people. That's basically what it is. If you insist on that, then most of the people that gather around you are going to be the ones that are not in this strife and competition mode, which is really destructive. It does not help. It leaves so many people behind, and all the kids that got injured by it, like I mentioned before, I think that part of our homelessness situation is because people give up.
Yeah.
They get bullied so much that they say, this is not for me. This society I can't handle. And they just don't do it.
I was just thinking of a word that Cindy used that we've all been a part of. We've all felt like an outcast before. an imposter
Right.
before, someone who doesn't feel like, and sometimes we bring our own crap into that, right? Like we think people are saying certain things or doing certain things when maybe sometimes they're not, right?
Mhm.
Outcasts, Cindy. I mean, you know, this ended up being kind of a group of outcasts that were once a part of this other
Right.
cliques. And Marcus brings up homeless because, as you know, I'm kind of working with this other group. But it's so interesting how I believe food, clothes on your backs, shelter, and a sense of belonging. Without a sense of belonging in your own tribe, we are not whole.
Right.
Mhm.
Your eyes are going up for the spaces in between, Cindy. What are you thinking about when I'm speaking?
Well, as you're talking, I'm trying to like process what I want to say there because it's so very important. And I do think we've been all of it. We've been the bullies. We've been the bullied. We've been all of it. And our relationships, each and every relationship that we have, that we experience in life, is a reflection of, you know, all of those unconscious, unhealed things that we need to pay attention to.
Mhm.
And our children especially will reflect all of that back to us.
Mhm.
And we need to be able to ask ourselves the difficult questions like, what, you know, was I a bully? Am I a bully? You know, how am I treating other people? If I'm not feeling peace within, there's a reason for that. And I think
Right.
that peace only comes when we accept responsibility for our actions and how we behave in the world.
Right.
Cindy,
So
I
if we're not
highlighted.
at peace, there's something we need to look at.
Amen, sister. I too, when we get ready to have the authors on and they're going to read a bit about their story, I too will go on and kind of put some highlights and things I'd like to bring up. And in your story, one of the things you just said, I had highlighted, do not be afraid to ask yourself the tough questions. Do you have an underlying bias that may be creating your perception of a certain someone or something? And man, that's hot. That's a hot comment right there. That's amazing. Perception, perspectives. I had somebody the other day, I was listening to a podcast say how different the two of them are. Boy, did that spin me for a hot minute. I spent the rest of the day going, what's the difference between a perception and a perspective? And oh, which one is mine and which one's the rest of society? Like I spun on that, but it's true. And to ask ourselves the question, you know, what do we really know, Cindy, if we don't have all the information either?
Right.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
uncomfortable, right? Nobody likes to go to those uncomfortable places. But that's where all the learning takes place, right? You
That's
look like you wanted to say something there, Marcus.
Yeah, go ahead, Marcus.
I was going off on a different tangent. That would not be,
Oh, that's all
you
right.
know,
Oh, well, please.
with regards to, you know, the people that are bullies are hurting, and if they don't recognize that themselves, then they can't begin the process of healing. And I really have a problem understanding how to trigger that self-awareness in people like that. Not necessarily at the time that the insult occurs, but maybe even later, just trying to get them to analyze what they're saying. Lots of people, they just have, I call it verbal diarrhea. Okay, stuff comes out of their mouth that is just foul, nasty, and like cesspool, like you say. You know. And so I would love to try and figure out how to get the trigger to get them started on a different path.
You bring up,
that would be
I wrote some content years ago. How do you go from yucky to yay?
okay.
Right. And so it could be yucky, like yucky clothes you need to purge and get rid of. I mean, it can be that simple with some of the stuff I was teaching. But the main thing for me with what you just said, whenever I feel yucky, something makes me feel, and I literally will get nauseated or mad or whatever, that yucky, that to me gives me that physical result. I have that physical feeling that something's mucked up and to sit in, right? Because something's pushing up against me. Whether it's relationships, work, right? I've had some people recently that I've been doing work collaborations with, and I'm like, ooh, that's triggering some buttons. What the hell is that going on right there? And with our kiddos, Cindy, poor souls, because they are kind of, we're working through some of our own muck with them that we worked through from our parents with us, that generational
Right.
cesspool.
Right, exactly. And they trigger all of those things,
Yeah,
for
Right,
us.
yeah.
right.
And half the time they're not even aware of it. Something I was just thinking and wanted to expand upon on what you had said, Marcus, is, what creates the frustration in us is, and I've struggled with this myself, is wanting to, trigger that awareness in someone else.
Mhm.
But it has to come from themselves. Like that
Yeah,
awareness
yeah.
has to come from themselves. And that's all. I don't want to give too much of it away, but that's kind of a little bit about how my story starts in the beginning, about this book that I used to read to my daughter.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
all about
Such a good
trying to
book.
understand the mindset
Yeah.
of
mhm,
someone who bullies as being an injured human, someone who's
mhm.
hurting inside, and they don't know how to deal with their own emotions about it. So they lash out at others.
Yeah.
Right, right.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. What are you going to do now? If once this book is published and continue to write, do you have a next step? Where do you see yourself in a year with writing?
Geez, interestingly, I've been pulling all of these stories together, all of my blogs together in one big, I'm hoping that, in the next year or two, I'll have my own, publish
Nice.
my own collection of
That's
stories.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yep.
That's
That's the portion of the networking that we, in a way, are hoping for, that this is not just contained in one book series and then it's over. If
Mhm.
we are able to get this moving out, like, an exponential growth would be nice, to see that
right.
people are understanding what we are after and they're doing the same thing, because all of us feel that inside. Even bullies have that in them. And so, the question is, with more proliferation and maybe more people understand that, yeah, there is a valid group out there, because they don't want to expose themselves to the risk of losing what they got, right?
Right.
Nonetheless, it's hard to get it down on paper, get it out into the world. And with today's society, it's always there. You have that imprint out there of whatever you're
Yep.
sharing, but everybody's a storyteller. And as you evolve, I was thinking of Cindy's blogs, and we'll finish this up, you guys. As I was thinking about Cindy's blogs, I too have been doing the same thing, as well as our publisher has been doing the same thing, as pulling this all together in a sandbox. One of the things that I had to struggle not to do is to go back and edit my stuff from 20 years ago and wanted to change the date. And then I had to have a meeting with myself and say, but girlfriend, that's who you were before. You can't rob yourself from that moment in time that got you to this little girl today. And so with storytelling, let's all encourage everybody to be a storyteller. Write a story with your friend, with your mother, with your son, like I am. Share your stories. Don't be afraid. It's the best thing I can tell you. You will change or save a life, even though you may never know it. Somebody will pick something up down the road this year, 50 years from now, and you will have made a difference because you didn't do the disservice of keeping it to yourself. We have a service, right? We have a service to share our experience and connect.
Mm.
What are you doing, Preacher Peggy? Goodness sakes alive.
Amen.
Amen. Cindy, what are some final thoughts that you have, hon?
Well, I think that this book really says it all with the G.P.S. It really is that internal guidance system, right? It's your path to freedom, to emotional freedom, because we all experience, we all have our own emotional pathology, right? And how we handle ourselves through relationships will be what plays out for us going along in our path of life. And this is a great, I mean, if life had an instruction manual, this would be a great book to have in your back pocket. Like I used to carry around James's book all the time as my own little personal Bible. This is one that I will pass on to my daughter and my niece and my nephews. And I just want people to have this opportunity to read about others who have traveled the path, to see where these paths go, and make your own choices along the way. It doesn't mean that you're not going to make the same mistakes, right? But it also gives you an opportunity to see, you get a little bit of insight into where those paths go. So maybe you'll make a different choice in your own life going forward. That's my hope for all of these stories.
It's perfect.
Excellent.
It's perfect.
We're right in tune. Right in tune.
Yeah, we're in tune. So you guys, we're looking at this third book, Wellness GPS, coming out May-ish, June or so. You can go catch the first one, Fourfold Formula and Win the Wellness War, which was the second one that hit bestseller. You can catch those on Amazon and hang tight for this next. So thank you guys for joining me today. I
Great.
appreciate it.
Hang
Marcus,
on.
you have a
Yeah,
thought?
yeah. We just wanted to make sure that Cindy has a chance to tell how to contact her.
Oh, I love that. Cindy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Him. Him.
well, best way to contact me probably would be through my email at cindywilkins12 as in the number at gmail.com.
And that's a
Excellent.
CYNDI.
Yes, little
All
bit
right.
flip of the letters there.
Hot minute to get that. Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.